Hello, everyone. To tackle the question of whether faith and reason are compatible, I'm going to walk through some of the key thinkers that we were exposed to through our readings this week. Each of them offered a different perspective on how belief and reason interact, and I will do my best not to botch their names. And please excuse my voice. I am a week into teaching, and it hasn't been too kind to my throat. Okay, so let's start with Augustine. His writing took place in the early 5th century in the aftermath of the sack of Rome in 410 CE. His writing, City of God, was composed in a world marked with political collapse, famine, and widespread fear that Christianity had brought down the empire. He was deeply influenced by Plato, and he argued that true wisdom does not come from human reasoning alone, but actually from faith in God. Human reason, he believed, has value but is limited. It can point us toward our ignorance, prepare us for truth, yet its salvation rests purely in God's grace. For Augustine, reason was always subordinate to faith. And the city of man depends on worldly power and pride, while the city of God is grounded in humility and trust in divine authority. Several centuries later, Peter Abelard took a different approach. In his prologue, he insists that doubt is not the enemy of faith, but the beginning of wisdom. And I did some more research into Abelard, and I came out with a quote that says, "By doubting, we are led to inquiry, and by inquiry, we perceive the truth." To Abelard, apparent contradictions in scripture or doctrine were not threats to belief, but were actually opportunities for deeper understanding. In this way, reason and questioning actually became tools to clarify and even strengthen faith, marking an important step toward integrating rational inquiry with Christian theology. So, this integration further develops with Thomas Aquinas. In the 13th century, in the Summa Contra Gentiles, Aquinas argues that truth revealed by faith and truth discovered through reason cannot ultimately contradict, since both have their origin in God. Reason for Aquinas is capable of leading us to certain truths, such as the existence of God, and through careful observation and logical argument. Yet the deepest mysteries of faith, like Trinity, lie beyond reason's grasp and must be received through revelation. In this way, philosophy and theology are not competing systems, but they're actually complementary. Reason illuminates and orders the natural world, while faith dissolves divine truths inaccessible to human intellect alone. Okay, and by the late 15th century, Giovanni Pico della Mirandola offers yet a different vision in his oration on the dignity of man. Whereas Augustine stressed human limitation and resilience on divine grace, Mirandola celebrated human freedom and potential. He argued that God created human beings without a fixed place in the order of creation, ultimately granting them unique ability to shape their own natures. Through reason and learning and natural choice, humans could ascend toward the divine or fall into lower forms of existence. In this Renaissance perspective, faith and reason are not at odds, but together affirm the extraordinary dignity of human beings as capable of self-transformation and participation in God's creative work. But there's also a bit of a warning in the Renaissance. Machiavelli's The Prince in 1513 kind of represents a world where reason operates without the guidance of faith. And his advice to rulers is often ruthless, emphasizing fear over love, deception over honesty, shows what could happen when political reasoning is detached from moral or spiritual grounding. In Machiavelli's view, maintaining power and stability justified almost any means. While undeniably realistic, this kind of stripped down the use of reason risks becoming more calculated, effective for authority, but destructive for virtue. So, I guess to answer the question, are faith and reason compatible? I would argue yes, but with a caveat. Augustine reminds us that faith must ground our ultimate commitments, but Abelard and Aquinas demonstrate that reason, when used humbly, can clarify, strengthen, and expand faith. Renaissance thinkers like Mirandola and more show us that faith and reason can together honor human dignity and shape communities. Yet Machiavelli reminds us that reason, when separated from faith, risks devolving into expedience. In the end, faith without reason can slip into dogmatism, and reason without faith can become cynical. But together, they provide a fuller picture of truth, reason guiding our inquiry, and faith orienting our hearts toward wisdom beyond ourselves.